Hey, good morning, all, and welcome to the Common Good Podcast. It's Tuesday, tax day, 15th of April.
Your taxes done, Doug?
Not yet. But you know what is done? You know what is done?
Your extension?
My extension.
Yeah. My taxes
A couple of days before I haven't finished my taxes, I fill out that free extension. Anyone can do it. Go to IRS, free extension. You get one. If you don't have to, if you have to pay taxes, they're going to charge you a couple pennies a day. Maybe $1 a day every day you do. But if you need, another 24 hours, another, if you're going to rush around and be all panicked, just click on the form, fill it out, turn it in tomorrow. If you can't get it done today, just give yourself a little cushion. Just give yourself a little
cushion. I will be spending my afternoon working on my taxes, which just embitters me. It embitters me that this is the process that we have, that it requires complicated math on my part to guess at what the IRS may or may not already know. And it's just, no, every other transaction I have in my life, they tell me the price. They say, this is what you owe. This is how much this car costs. This is how much these eggs cost. This is how much whatever costs. This is what you owe. Taxes, it's
this is a great take.
I think I maybe owe this. I'm gonna. And if I, make a math error, I could go to prison.
Well, you can't, but an error would be in good faith. An error would be fine. Tax fraud, like Donald Trump commits, that you go to prison for. The difference between fraud,
not if you're president of the United States, you don't.
The difference between fraud and an error is intent. So you're going to be okay.
Yes, this is when people say, "Oh, I lied," when they just misspeak. No. You didn't lie. You just misspoke. It's not a lie.
You just simply said things that were provably untrue. But it was an accident, so we don't call it a lie. We call it a mistake. Yeah. You know, it was a mistake. The Trump administration. That's what.
Oh my goodness.
Trump administration full throated. I know that the Trump people and Trump himself just couldn't be happier with what he's up to, and they're gloating. And he's going around with a high level of bounce in his step and confidence.
Yeah,
it is terrible.
Does he have bounce in his step though?
It is terrible. We're going to get to a lot of things. We're going to get to defying the courts. We're going to get to his meltdown about 60 Minutes from Sunday.
Yep.
We're going to get to him suggesting to the El Salvadorian president that they build 5 more maximum security torture prisons so that Donald Trump can, in his words, Donald Trump's own words, send homegrown criminals to a El Salvadorian prison, meaning citizens of the United States he wants to send to an El Salvadorian prison. I had to double check and triple check this one because it seemed absolutely not possible that even this man, with his unmatched buffoonery, would say such a thing as the president of the United States to the president of another country, hold for it, in front of reporters.
Right.
It is, without a doubt, the act of an authoritarian dictator. If he's not an authoritarian or a dictator, he should stop acting like one.
Yep. My wife last night, as we were, trying to console ourselves before going to bed, and trying to hold off the panic attack that inevitably comes at 2 a.m. She said, if this was a Disney movie, in the end, Trump would end up in one of those El Salvadorian prisons. I was like,
it is so bad. And friends, look, I know people are hanging in there. doing the best they can. Rob, I got to spend the weekend with rural Democrats in Michigan, had a fabulous time, a couple hundred people, I don't know, 400, maybe 59 congressional or 59 precincts, mostly from rural parts of Michigan, Democrats trying to figure out their way forward. Here's what I learned from that experience. Democrats are taking seriously the changes that have to be made. Yeah. That feels good to me. I mean, we are. I know other people are. I wasn't sure how sort of I'm going to use a phrase that I can't stand because it's a military phrase, but the rank and file of the democratic system, just the regular volunteers, the people that run precincts. I didn't know how far down it would go. Oh, it runs all the way to the roots. People are like, okay.
Yeah.
Especially folks in rural America, they have a smaller portion of the population and a different portion of the population, and they can feel the pressures, and they can feel people becoming frustrated with the Trump debacle and all this nonsense. We'll get to all that, but there's a little bit of, I don't know, felt like there's a little bit of good news in the air, as spring dawns around the country. Mm-hmm. Maybe the heaviness is lifting a little bit, and the let's get to it narrative is starting to kick in. And
for sure. Yeah. I spent the weekend, sitting on the beach, which was just glorious. And I went absolutely determined not to get a sunburn. And I can thankfully report that I was the only member of my family to return home without a sunburn.
Did you stay covered up with cloth, or did you put chemicals on your body to fight the sun?
Both and. At one point, I took a nap while lying on the beach, sitting on the beach, and I just covered myself in towels.
There you go.
And my wife and daughters laughed at me for this, but I didn't get a sunburn.
Would you ask if they'd send a few pictures? I'd like to just, just include them.
Yeah.
Just include them in a place. I bet there's a great picture of the old man laying under towels down by the Gulf of Mexico. Did you have any conversations with folks about the Gulf of Mexico versus the Gulf of
not this time.
America?
Yeah, not this time.
Oh my gosh. All right. Hey, thanks for all the people that are already popping up in the chats. If you're watching this on Facebook, glad to have you. Head on over to YouTube. There's a whole fun gaggle of people over there on YouTube in the comments. So head on
Doug,
over there if you're
I know we're gonna talk about some serious stuff today, and there's some real serious stuff to talk about. Maybe could we start with something maybe not quite as serious?
Sure.
Doug, I want to institute a new game here on the podcast. By the way, the 29th ranked progressive Christian podcast available in all the places where you get podcasts.
Hey, let's try to drive that into the top 25. Let's do what we can.
Yeah. So I got tagged on Twitter a few weeks ago, and it was a list of the 70 top progressive Christian podcasts.
And there are 70?
Apparently. We were on the list. We were ranked number 29.
Well, let's get that into the top 25.
I think why we don't have a big badge on our podcast on the screen right now. The 29th best progressive Christian podcast.
It's just Flight of the Conchords, right? Remember that music band that was like New Zealand's second most popular folk duo band. All right. Well, okay. A new feature on the
new feature.
One of the top 30 progressive Christian podcasts.
Here we go. And this might move us into the top 25. This new feature that I'm bringing to the podcast today, Doug. I'm going to give you 3 things that happened this week in the Trump administration, and you're going to tell me what's the dumbest thing that the Trump administration that happened in the Trump administration this week. I'm gonna nominate 3 things that happened.
Okay, all right.
And you're gonna tell me. And you're gonna vote because this is democracy. We're saving democracy here. Nominee number 1.
And Rob, let's also ask people in the chats.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Give their to give theirs. Yeah.
If you'd like to add any examples as well, I'm sure there are countless.
So number 1.
Choice number 1. Secretary of Education Linda McMahon was speaking at a panel at the ASU and GSV Summit. Don't really quite know what that is, but it sounds important.
Sure does.
And she was asked about education, as you might think that the Secretary of Education might be. It's an event focusing on educational innovation.
Okay.
And she said this, you know, A1 development. I mean, how can we educate at the speed of light if we don't have the best technology around to do that? She later went on to say, a school system that's going to start making sure that first graders or even pre-Ks have A1 teaching in every year, that's wonderful. Kids are sponges. They just absorb everything. It wasn't all that long ago that it was, we're going to have the internet in our schools. Now, let's see A1 and how that can be helpful.
Is she saying AI and she's pronouncing it A1? Is that what's happening?
That is absolutely what's happening.
The person in charge of the Department of Education is mispronouncing AI as A1 steak sauce.
That's exactly what happened.
She is so familiar
multiple times
with the spicy, savory flavors of A1 steak sauce, which we all are. I mean, let's be honest. You're at the Ponderosa and you're saying to yourself, do you have the A1? And you got a little hope in your voice, and they bring it out. You're just like, baby, this is why I bought the big steak.
Yeah, it's better than the just the generic steak sauce for sure.
Okay. She's unfamiliar with the term alpha.
Maybe she does
indigo.
Maybe she doesn't know. Maybe she doesn't know what A1 is, because she is a Trumper, and they don't use steak sauce. They put ketchup on their steak.
She knows. She's cultured. She's more cultured.
Look, choice number 2.
But by the way, she is the wife of and the business mind and brain behind
World Wrestling Entertainment.
Yeah.
World Wrestling.
The professional wrestling. So, I mean, she's no slouch. And I don't make fun of WWE. It is an entertainment brand on par with, all of them. It's significant in the country to pull that off for all these years. But this is a little shocking. Okay, that's number 1. A1.
Vice President J.D. Vance ended the Ohio State football team's visit to the White House on Monday by fumbling the team's national championship trophy. After laudatory speeches by President Trump, Buckeye coach Ryan Day, Vance on the South Lawn, the vice president, and Ohio State graduate, tried to hoist aloft the trophy. He didn't count on the trophy's golden top being designed to separate from its black base. After some struggling, the vice president lost his grip on the two pieces.
Yes, it's true.
Trayvon Henderson, standing behind Vance, grabbed the football-shaped top of the trophy, but the base fell to the ground, forcing Vance to grasp around as it rolled a short distance. The vice president of the United States broke the national championship trophy.
He is just the Dan Quayle of this administration. It is unbelievable. I wonder if Dan Quayle is actually going to pull a Trump move and try to sue him for some sort of infringement on his role as the most bumbling one-term vice president in the history.
Yeah, I mean, what about Gerald Ford, though?
I was going to say, who then became president. So,
know. Yeah. Look,
but really with a sidestep.
The only president not elected.
Yeah. I mean, that's as we've joked, that very well could be Donald Trump's third term. Unelected, another unelected president. And they'll say, there's a precedent for that.
Gerald Ford did it.
All right. Gerald Ford did it. Okay. So,
choice number 3.
Ms. McMahon and A1 confusion with AI. with AI.
JD Vance fumbling the national.
Yeah. Okay.
And most embarrassing. See, the vice president isn't normally a part of these ceremonies.
But because he's a graduate, I'm guessing, right?
But that's where they brought him up. It's his alma mater.
Sure.
This is his chance to look cool in front of the jocks at his school, and he quite literally dropped the ball.
And lost the base.
Okay. Yeah, lost the base. Donald Trump had his annual physical this week. He was listed at 6'3", 75 inches. So you have to do the math in your head. That's 6 foot 3 inches tall. And he weighed in at 224. 224. I don't. 6'3", I know you're not a big I know you're not a big football fan. It's a football player named DK Metcalf, whose uncle Eric Metcalf played for the Cleveland Browns in the 1980s. By the way, DK Metcalf is a freak of nature in terms of his physical ability, and he's just a physical specimen. He's 6'3", 225. Donald Trump is 6'3", 224. Donald Trump looks nothing like DK Metcalf. I don't know. What do you think, Doug? 224, is that?
I am 6'7", right? 235. There is no way he is 6'3", 224. It's not possible. It's not possible. He couldn't fit in my clothes. Okay, yeah, he's not. Well, here's all I'll say.
Okay, so to Doug,
because I don't want to be a sizeist. The man is not 6'3". I have watched him stand next to many people for whom we know their heights.
Mm-hmm.
Either he shrinks to size when he's around someone, like a shrinky dink.
Like a team plays to the level of their competition.
He's either literally a shapeshifter, or someone is lying on government documents. And my friends, could be fraud. The centimeter fraud. He's constantly.
Doug, what's the dumbest thing in the president's? What's the dumbest thing in the Trump administration this week? Is it Linda McMahon and the A1 sauce? Is it JD Vance fumbling the trophy in front of his alma mater? Is it Donald Trump, 6'3", 224?
I'm going to go with Ms. McMahon and the A1 and the A1 steak sauce, because that is like, had she not been just a mere secretary of the Department of Education,
talking at an innovation conference about
it is literally stunning. A1.
Yeah,
we're gonna give it to the A1ers. Hey, if you were to use A1, which I think we should now refer to it, the memes must be alive and well on the internet for steak sauce, Ouija board kind of AI. Then they need to be. All right, can we get to some more maddening, saddening news here? Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Trump whisper to the El Salvadorian president, who, by the way, has turned El Salvador from a place that was riddled with crime into a place that apparently has the lowest crime rate in the Western Hemisphere by imprisoning thousands of people.
Yeah.
Mass imprisonment.
Yeah.
I'm not going to speak to El Salvadorian presidential actions around crime because we will be busy speaking about the United States president in a country of the United States built around law and order, built around the rule of law, and built around constitutional rights. Unclear about the current state of any of that in the great country of El Salvador, where I have spent a significant amount of time in my life. But in the United States, Rob, to have a president of the United States say what he's about to say, and we're going to show you two clips of the president saying this. And as I mentioned earlier, I was concerned that these were not accurate recounts. I'm sure when it gets out, and as it gets out, people in the Trump world will say that he didn't say this stuff. This is A1 created business, and it's all fakery. But here he is in a conversation with the president of El Salvador, while apparently giving him a tour of the White House and showing him around all the different offices, as if it's his house, bragging about it. All right, here he is.
Demanded the people wanted to change everything, and they wanted to. They demanded, they love you, they love what you do. You know, I'm not your supporter. I want them to do, homegrown criminals next. Yeah. I said, homegrowns are next. The homegrowns built. You got to build about 5 more places. Yeah, that's fair. All right. It's not big enough. No, yeah, come on. So this is a much different office than you remember.
So that's PBS News with some video footage of Trump whispering, you know what we're going to do next? We're going to move on to the homegrowns. And then the press hear him. What did you say? Oh, I said we're going to now move on to the homegrowns. The criminals in the United States, the homegrown ones. We need you to build 5 more maximum security prisons in El Salvador because that's where I want to send them. President of El Salvador says, we have room. Mm-hmm. President of El Salvador is like, you're paying us millions of dollars to house people that you rounded up in the United States from a third country and sent to our country for us to hold in a presidential executive order agreement. I mean, all of this is unthinkable. But then for Donald Trump on a public tour to say, hey, they love you. They really, really love you. And now we just need to move on to the homegrowns. And you might say to yourself, he's full of bluster. He's full of nonsense. Then in the press interaction, he goes on, Trump, and clarifies it and says this.
They're great facilities, very strong facilities, and they don't play games. I'd like to go a step further. I mean, I said it to Pam. I don't know what the laws are. We always have to obey the laws, but we also have homegrown criminals that push people into subways, that hit elderly ladies on the back of the head with a baseball bat when they're not looking, that are absolute monsters. I'd like to include them in the group of people to get them out of the country, but you'll have to be looking at the laws on that, Steve.
I don't know what the laws are.
Can we just pause for just a second and consider the crimes that Donald Trump imagines in his head?
Yes.
They're pushing someone in front of a subway.
Which has happened. Mentally ill people have pushed people in front of subway cars.
Yeah, but that's like...
Mm-hmm.
It's like something that happens in a comic book or a TV show or a movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's like when they think like, oh, what's a cliche crime?
Yes.
Hitting old ladies in the back of the head with a baseball bat when they're not looking. Like when they're not looking at to that. I know these things happen, but those are just weird examples to give.
Yes.
It's and like, then, I don't have this fully thought out yet. I'm just spitballing off the top of my head, which all of this feels like to me. And I'm just going to come up with the most cliche crimes I possibly can come up with.
Yes.
This is not a serious human being.
Let's find the cliche crimes. And let's then start to normalize this, which is Trump's pattern. Yeah. You've seen it for 10 years. Joke about something, make it seem outrageous. People literally in the room in the first clip laughed because it seems so outrageous.
Yep.
But he's serious. So then you make it laughable. Then you say it over and over. Then you make it sound reasonable. And here's what's going to happen. Trump supporting MAGAites are now going to try to make an argument why U.S.-born citizens should be deported. U.S.-born citizens, U.S. citizens, deported to another country and put in a maximum security prison.
Yes. It
is unthinkable. And he says, I don't know what the laws are. So I said to Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the United States, can you figure out what the law... Do you know who is actually the number one law enforcement agent in the United States? The President of the United States. That's why he can appoint an attorney general to fulfill that task. He says out loud, I don't know what the law is. Can you figure out if this is in the law? This is such a level of incompetence to say something out loud. We're going to send U.S. citizens to El Salvadorian prisons. Can you find out if that's legal? You know what I am not, Rob? The President of the United States. Do you know what I know? It is not legal to deport U.S. citizens for crimes and send them to El Salvadorian prisons.
Yeah. So there is, Doug, I want to, there's the content of this, but then I think this is also illustrative of what Trump does. And you were just mentioning this. There is a thing called the Overton window. The Overton window refers to subjects or arguments that are politically acceptable to the mainstream at any given time. So there's the spectrum of something being unthinkable, which is interesting because you just used that word, that this is unthinkable. Something being radical, being acceptable, being sensible, being popular, and becoming policy. And the Overton window is this idea that you can move something that was once unthinkable into being acceptable or even becoming policy. And there's a way of you just open up, like, what can we even talk about? So for instance, it used to be the idea that like changing Social Security or doing something with Social Security was unthinkable. Like it was outside of the Overton window. And then George W. Bush began talking about privatizing and shifted the Overton window where now you could talk about something. What Trump does is he shifts the Overton window and makes a topic that on the surface is absolutely unthinkable. We're going to have a prison on foreign land where we're going to send United States citizens? Like, this is unthinkable. And he is now moving it very quickly. It will move very quickly from unthinkable to radical to acceptable to there will be people that I'm sure there already are people making the argument that this is a sensible policy. And this shift in what it and Trump does this, he absolutely, it seems like he's joking, and that's what makes it kind of like, oh, maybe we talk about this. And then people begin to talk about it, and all of a sudden this is on the table. It is horrific that the idea that, and again, this homegrowns. There's something about like that word that's bothersome.
Like homegrown terrorists. Like somehow he's going to now consider criminals. And look, the list of people that were Venezuelan, that they rounded up and deported, they could only do it by declaring that group was a terrorist group. Non-citizens in the United States deemed a terrorist group. So then they can use Homeland Security laws and procedures to move those people out of the country. Now he's saying, well, what do we do about the homegrown ones? And what are the crimes? Just hold on a minute, like you brought up. What are the crimes he's talking about? Is it homegrown terrorists? Is it McVeigh? Is it that kind of homegrown terrorist he's talking about? No, he's talking about people committing person-on-person crimes. As horrible as it is to imagine that some mentally ill person shoves somebody in front of a subway or strikes a vulnerable person with a baseball bat. Horrible. It's horrible to smash a police officer in the middle of a door. It's horrible to tase a police officer. It's horrible to hit a police officer with a flagpole and a fire extinguisher. He pardons those people and then says about other crimes, citizen-on-citizen crimes, not terrorist activities, not some foreign agent in the United States that has been declared a threat to the United States at an executive level. Homegrown, regular old crime-on-crime citizens. He wants to send him to an El Salvadorian prison and isn't sure if that's in the law. Because, of course, we have to follow the law. Pam, Attorney General, and I don't know who he's referring to with Steve. Steve, could you sort of look into that and find out if that's the law? You know what you don't have to do? Ask the frickin' Attorney General if you can deport U.S. citizens to El Salvadorian prisons for person-on-person crimes. This guy has no business with the power of the presidency. And if you're a Trump supporter and you're now going to start arguing why this makes a lot of sense, you have stepped over the line, my friends. Yeah. It's okay to say he's wrong, Fonzie. You can squeeze out he's wrong. And look, he didn't accidentally say this to the president of El Salvador. He's been talking about this and now is choosing to let it come out in public. And now he's going to defend it. Just sit with that for a little bit. Do you remember when we all said he's going to try to deport people who are in the country legally?
Yes.
And the Trump supporters said, no, he's not. He's only going to, this is only for the criminals. This is only for the worst of the worst. Then you know what he did? He revoked people's legal status in the United States to turn them into criminals.
Yep.
So he could deport them. Now he's saying U.S. citizens who I determine to be a criminal, I'd like to deport them. Can you figure out how we make that work? I know in politics, we're all told to not tell you, I told you so. We told you so. Do you know why we told you so? Because he's been saying it. Donald Trump wasn't saying, I'm not going to deport people here legally. You said he wouldn't do that, Trump supporter. Donald Trump didn't say I would try to deport U.S. citizens. You said he wouldn't do that. He said he would, and he said it again. And I bet you're right now saying to yourself, he won't actually do it. Until he does, and then you'll say he had no other choice. This is how it goes. And if you're a Trump supporter who didn't vote for this, feel free to say so. There's no shame in being fooled.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shame in choosing to be a fool. And you don't have to choose to be a fool. I don't want to quote, Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey in every podcast, but we won't get fooled again. Or maybe we will. This one is so bad to me. When a president of the United States has the gall to say, could somebody check on the laws about that? I actually think that's the worst part of this whole little charade that went on yesterday. Not just that Trump said he was going to deport homegrown U.S. citizens that he determines to be, worthy of deportation to an El Salvadorian torture prison where he says they're very tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How does he know?
That.
How does he know how tough they are? Oh, because he gets reports about what they do. We get reports about what they do in that prison. It's torture. He likes it and says, build 5 more. In other words, there will be thousands in his worldview. This is the worldview of the man who is the president of the United States of America. This is why some of us have suggested the second term will be worse. Mm-hmm. And if you think this is better, I got it. Got it. You think this is what we're about in this country?
Yeah. Yes.
I hardly know.
Yes.
Literally hardly know how to move on.
Yeah.
But as one of our great commenters in the chat said, the comment was, and we need to recognize that the courts don't seem to know how to respond to this. And that is very true, because the courts have ruled on multiple issues in the last 90 days, and the Trump administration has either flaunted it straight up or just ignoring it, just flat out ignoring it.
We absolutely need to talk about this. We need to talk about the fact that the Trump administration is doing exactly what many of us feared that they would do. And that is just flat out ignoring judicial rulings.
Yep.
Our system of government is set up with checks and balances. The executive branch, led by the president, the executive of the executive branch, does not have ultimate authority. They are subject to laws passed by Congress. Those laws passed by Congress have to be signed into law by the executive of the executive branch. And those laws are subject to review by the courts on their constitutionality. The courts are not, all powerful. They are subject to appointment by the executive and advice and consent from the legislative branch. Like, all of this works in this kind of Trinitarian symbiotic goodness. Right. Unless one branch says, we're just going to do what we want.
Yes.
And right now, the administration, the executive branch, the Trump administration, is simply ignoring rulings from the courts. Minor things like whether or not the Associated Press gets a member of the, gets to have a seat in the White House press room.
Which the court said they need to, and the press secretary's office continues to not allow them in the room. What are you going to do about it? Send the U.S. Marshals in to usher them in? Just keep litigating it, keep litigating it, keep litigating it. Let a court come to a conclusion. You're a criminal, you're guilty, but we don't accept it.
Yep.
Or the Supreme Court.
Yeah. Or in the case of Abrego Garcia, who was a U.S. citizen that was taken to El Salvador, deported wrongfully. And the Trump administration defied a court order to bring him back. Said, we just flat out can't do that. Last week, the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 against the Trump administration. And Stephen Miller, the president's closest advisor, in the Oval Office yesterday, arguing that the 9-0 ruling against the administration was actually in favor of the administration.
Yes, and so did Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the United States.
And the immigration dude that what's his name? Tom Hammond, the border czar, just saying, no, we're not going to do it.
Yep.
We're not going to do it.
Somehow interpreting, here's their argument, by the way, Pambani's argument. What the Supreme Court said was that if El Salvador would release him back to us, then we must facilitate it. But it's not on us. We can't do anything. He's in their custody. Really, the people that you're paying El Salvador to house is in their custody. Now, that's going to be litigated, I'm guessing, right now in a court, and the court will rule he is in your custodial responsibility. Go get him.
Yeah.
The point, as important it is for Mr. Garcia, it's even more important to show that the Trump administration does not care.
Yes. They're just going to do what they want to do. And so you say the question, okay, what's your solution? Danielle asked this question in the chat, and she's absolutely right. Like, that's an excellent question. The solution is Congress needs to act. It is when there is a quote unquote constitutional crisis, when there are two branches of government in conflict with one another, it's incumbent upon the third branch of government to act, to weigh in, and to do what is necessary to do. If the United States Supreme Court and other judges have stepped out of line and the Congress wants to side with the President of the United States on this, then impeach those judges. That's the remedy. That they need to impeach John Roberts. They need to impeach all the other doofuses up there. I can't think of their names right now. Or if Congress says, no, you know what, the court's like, you're actually right here, then they need to bring people in for hearings, question them before Congress, and possibly even impeach members of the administration, even the President of the United States, for defying a court order. That's the remedy that the system has. That's the solution, that the system is built to handle this. But the system is dependent on people of good faith and courage.
Right.
And principle. And we have Mike Johnson.
And that is that part of the political system's response, right? The elected members to the branches of government, the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the legislative branch. That's what they can do. That's how they work symbiotically. For you and I, friends, we're not in that system. What can we do? Well, nothing about them brazenly disobeying the law. But what we can do is be sure that the party that supports the brazen disregard for the law and rulings of judges lose their ability to be in the legislative branch.
Yes.
We are going to have to live through another year and a half of the Trump administration violating the law. And then we can turn up and turn out and flip Congress. And turn the entire thing over. The single thing that we, the people, in a constitutional republic that uses a democracy to elect its leaders can do is to elect people who will do something about it. And we can name it every single day. The wheels of justice are designed to move slowly. And there are some illegal acts that a president does that do not have a remedy today. But there is a day, as we like to say around Vote Common Good, not every day can you do something about it, but there is one day every 2 years where you can. And that is, you can elect people who will do something about it with the political power that we have. And the other thing we could do is a national strike and shutdown. That's something we can do. Political revolutions can come by the citizenry at some point reaching the level where they will not participate in the functioning of the economy because what's happening in the political system is so bad. We're nowhere close to that in the United States. We may reach that point someday, and we may reach that point in the next 18 months, but we're not close to that yet. So I'm not suggesting we do that. Look, we can't even get people to not shop at Target, en masse. So we're nowhere close to a shutdown of the country, a, COVID level, no one is moving thing, a national sit-in. That's something you could get to at some point, until the pain on the very people sitting in is so severe because people can't work and people don't have money and people can't go to school and people in hospitals are being sick. Like, it's a terrible thing. But there are some actions we can do. The most important one is this: if we're going to have a democracy, and we can say it every single day whenever the conversation of Trump comes up. Some people think we're just being flippant and partisan when we say they function like a criminal syndicate. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump has participated with criminal elements in the United States his entire business life. And he's doing it again, Mr. Twice impeached, violating the laws that he has sworn himself to upkeep. He is doing it again, and he will do it again and again and again. And for all the Republicans who said Joe Biden's such a criminal and he committed all these, never once can they name a single crime, and we can sit here week after week and name multiple actions that violate the letter and spirit of the law in the United States from the Trump administration. It's just simply remarkable.
Yep.
But when it's your guy, you tend to think, yeah, he's probably not actually violating the law. He's probably, that's how it goes. When you think it's your quarterback that takes a little air out of the ball, well, then it's just a guy being smart in the locker room. When it's your team that comes up with a way to steal the pitch count or the pitch communication between a catcher and a pitcher in Major League Baseball. Yeah, Houston, I'm talking about you. Then you can get all up in arms and scream about violating the rules because we care more about sports than we do this stuff. But we can say something about it over and over and over and over. We can move the Overton window by saying it over and over and over. And we should. Yeah. At least once a week on Tuesdays on the Common Good podcast.
Yeah. There is all over the country right now. So mad. People who are looking at what's taking place and are feeling within themselves a sense of I've got to do something. Mm-hmm. And that is leading many of them to consider running for office. And right now is the time that these conversations are taking place. Partners, spouses are talking about, okay, what would it take for this to happen? Right now, there are conversations happening amongst friends, amongst party leaders in states and areas. Like, these conversations are taking place. And little by little, there's going to be announcements of people saying, hey, this is not okay. Congress is not doing its job and is not being the check and balance that is needed on this administration. And like, the only way to change Congress is to change our Congress people.
That's right.
And so, so I'm going to run. And maybe it's a long shot, but somebody's got to do it. And I'm going to run. Mm-hmm. And all of us out here that are feeling like, okay, what can we do? Like, we've got to support those people.
Yeah.
We have got to be willing to donate. We've got to be willing to volunteer. We've got to be willing to help amplify them and not get like, we can't get the discouraged, oh, it's too hard, it's too much. It's like,
I'm not going to win.
We're not going to win. I get all these annoying texts from people asking me for money. Like, yeah, ignore all the national ones and support the person in your district. Do that. Support the person in your district who is stepping up and running. And frankly, maybe you are that person.
Yep.
Maybe you're the person who's going to run.
Yeah.
Like, okay, now's the time. Like, let's, and if you need some help, I feel like I'm giving like an altar call here. Do you feel the Holy Spirit moving in your heart right now?
You feel strangely
come down.
warmed?
We've come down the aisle. We've got someone to talk to you. Come down the aisle. Send that email to me, Robb, ROBB at votecommongood.com. Send me that email and I'll talk you through it. I'll help you figure it out. That's the remedy we have. There's two things. We put pressure on the system right now with raising our voices through protests, through calls, through actions, all of those things. And two, we win elections. Yeah. That's what we can do. Those are the two things. We pressure the system in any way we can with calls, emails, mass actions, all of those things, going to the protests, and we win elections. Those are the two things we can do. That's it.
That's it.
And frankly, winning elections doesn't happen on election day in November. Winning elections happens because of what happens on a random April Tuesday a year and a half ahead of time.
Yeah.
Because that's when the decisions are being made. That's when the plans are going into place. That's when the person is deciding, yeah, I'm in or I'm out.
Championships are built in the off season, Rob. Championships are won in the summer. That's what I was told when I was a college basketball player. I'll put it in sports terms so people, care. And look, anybody watching this gets it. And maybe you need to run. Now, I'm in a situation where if I ran for office, for federal office or for state office, it wouldn't change any party power. I am represented by people that agree with me in the political system and on the Democratic side of the political power. So I can't run for anything. I'd have to move, or I could run for a seat that's not in a place I live. I could find one of those and kind of figure that out. I could move. I'm not gonna move. I got a little, thing going on down here, basement I'm trying to work on. So I'm not gonna move. So we've all got these conditions we're in, right? I don't know. Some people, are disqualified from running for office, so they can't. But you can be involved in campaigns.
That's right.
100%. You can be a Vote Common Good booster. We'll go to these places. We'll go support these people. You can be with us. Come with us. Go. You can find somebody. Just connect. If you're in the YouTube chat, connect with Yabbits. He lives in Georgia, all involved down in Florida. Thanks for that, Yabbits. Like, pick a place and get involved and get to know someone and do a thing. If you're someone who likes to do something. But I also want to say this, Rob, there's a lot of different personalities.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, the best thing you can do is to just be frustrated. Right? Like, the thing that your motivation can be is that it's driving you crazy. Now, some people disagree with this or actually think it's bad for you. And I will say there are some people for whom being frustrated by the news is not in your best interest, so you should stop it. But other people, you can start it. I'm woo-woo-y enough to know that there's a lot of forces, there's a lot of energies, there's a lot of actions that tend to create the context we live in. There's a lot of positivity that makes positive things happen. There's a lot of resistance energy that prevents some things from happening. Different religious traditions call this prayer or meditation or confluence. There's a lot of ways people talk about this. And if you're finding yourself like, you know what? Every day I just feel like we got to do something about this. Just carrying that energy might be your real gift. Then you run into somebody and you have a conversation or you meet a candidate and you bring to it this like, well, I care about this. Because truthfully, out of the 150 million people that might be involved in our next presidential election, and maybe 110 million, 120 million people will be involved in our midterm elections, there's still another 200 million people that don't think about this stuff at all. They don't care one bit. There's nothing wrong with you being the proxy who cares about this stuff.
That's right.
You root it on, you cheer it on, you're bringing energy to it. You're part of it. Now, if that all produces anxiety in you and you're having a hard time functioning, then maybe you should cut back on how much you're worrying about. But if it's got you motivated, that's a good thing. Just simply caring about things really does matter. Do you know what the simple rule of life is? Things that people don't care about never change. We just know that to be true. There's this old axiom or old saying in golfing that near 80% of all the putts that are hit short of the cup never go in. Oh, or maybe the number's 100%, right? If you don't putt the ball far enough to even get to where the hole is, it's never going to go in. The way you guarantee you're not going to make the putt is to hit it short. Well, the way you guarantee that nothing's going to be done is to not care about something. So sometimes some of you are in situations where all you can do is care. And then there's a whole lot of movements, organizations, philosophies, religions that will share with you how to take that caring and to put it into some kind of flow action of some kind. Maybe become a prayer, maybe become a communicator, maybe become a cheerleader. Maybe you're just literally thinking thoughts like the monks that sit together and think positive thoughts around people that are ill and the person gets better. I don't know how to explain it, and I barely believe it happens. But the people who pay attention to that stuff and study it, they're like, yeah, no, that happens. So there is a thing you can do. Maybe it's time, Rob, that we start up with pray for the president again, which we did in 2017 to 2020. We asked people to pray for the president. The president would resign tomorrow morning and apologize to the American people. Maybe we start a little, daily action of calling on the president to come to his senses and to resign. You know, we could call it self-deporting from the White House. Could ask him to self-deport. You know what we could ask him to do? Move to El Salvador. We could join our, shall we say it together, thoughts and prayers for the president to self-deport from the White House and relocate to El Salvador. Yeah. Sometimes caring does a lot. I mean, sometimes apparently chipping in $5 is also going to save democracy. So don't be afraid
that donate button.
Chip in $5 for the most crucial time of our lives. Could you chip in? I mean, the mixed communication in the fundraising, text level fundraising is not helping. I'm not saying people don't need money. We need money, in fact. If you're into all this and you want to donate, go to voteCommonGood.com. You can make a donation there. We take your money,
smash that donate button,
and we spend it on things to help candidates, training rural candidates. By the way, going to be in Southern California, April 22nd, for an event in Irvine around the threat of Christian nationalism, which it's still a serious threat because now Christian nationalists literally are running the Defense Department.
Yep.
It's not just there. It's not just Mike Flynn's got his eye on your school board.
Yeah.
Secretary Hegseth has his eye on your nuclear weapons. And apparently there's a whole messaging going around of looking for anti-Christian bias in the government, and people want it to be reported inside the government. If some employee of the government has anti-Christian bias, they should report that up the chain. What now? What I mean, per podcast 2 weeks ago, no more anti-Christian federal government than the Trump administration.
Yep.
Literally take the meaning and teachings of Christianity, and Trump is the opposite anti-version of all of it.
Yep.
So if we were going to do that in the United States.
Let me just say parenthetically, feel free to run over there to the gospel according to donaldtrump.com and smash that Amazon button or the other one as well if you're not an Amazon person, and buy the gospel according to Donald Trump.
And it will enlighten you.
Yes, it will illustrate that this is the most anti-Jesus, anti-Christian administration maybe possible.
And Alyssa asks a very insightful question. What is a Christian nationalist? Let me start by saying what a Christian nationalist is not, what we mean by it. It's not a Christian acting publicly. Mm-hmm. It's not a Christian saying, I want my faith to drive me in the world. It's not even a Christian saying, I want the federal government to care about the things my faith cares about. What it is the federal government or the state government or the county government or the city government, any government giving preferential treatment to the Christian faith, any government thinking it derives its authority from the Christian faith, or any government believing it should give more authority to the Christian faith for the purpose of fulfilling the edicts of the Christian faith. And I am a Christian minister who has spent my life administrating the way for communities to live out Christianity in the world. When you do that in your church, when you do that with your friends, when you do it in your house, when you do it with your kids, that's one thing. When you do that as the government, and you think your job is to fulfill the purposes of Christianity as the government, that is Christian nationalism. Maybe it would be better if we called it Christian governmentalism. It's the belief that because this is, quote, a Christian nation, our primary purpose is to complete the tasks of Christianity. It's not, Christian nationalism is not even the false belief that America started as a Christian nation and exists to be a Christian nation. We can be a majority Christian nation, which we are. Majority of people in the United States identify as Christians. But the nation isn't Christian, the people are. When that is confusing for people, which it is, it's probably because somewhere along the line, you've been so enculturated into believing that God's purposes for the world should be fulfilled through a government. Like you take the phrase from the Jewish text and then brought into the Christian church and then heralded around Christmas time that the government shall be upon his shoulders. And you think, oh, that means that we're going to have a Christian government in the United States to fulfill God's purposes. That's not what that passage says. In fact, that passage says the exact opposite. So, what is Christian nationalism? Preference given to Christianity, the authority for the government being derived from Christianity, and that government then giving more power to Christianity. And here's the problem with it, Elisa, Miss Gallanday, Miss Claire. Here's the problem with it. Whose Christianity gets to be the national religion? If you want it to be mine, let's chit-chat. One that's inclusive, one that cares for the poor, both for individuals and communities and the government. One in which the land is protected, one in which freedoms are heralded. But if you want it to be one where you're taught that the teachings of the church and Christianity say that gay people or transgender people or poor people are somehow not full citizens of the kingdom of God until they realign themselves. If you want to have an exclusivist version, if you want to have Franklin Graham's version, if you want to have a warmongering Christian nationalist version, I don't want that one. That's not Christianity to me. This is the problem. We all know. Look, there's 300,000 plus churches in America of 90,000 varieties. I mean, more than there are seeds in the ground of varieties. Do you know why there's so many denominations? Because we can't agree on what Christianity is. And if you're someone who thinks the government can't even administrate the money that you're going to pay in your taxes, but you want the government to figure out which version of Christianity works best for Christian nationalists, I think that's self-evident. If you want more on this, you can go to confrontingchristiannationalism.com, a Vote Common Good website where we have an entire curriculum around all of this. That is confrontingchristiannationalism.com. And we actually truly would invite you to do that. You can listen to it on podcast. Totally. You can watch it on videos. You could download curriculum. There's a whole dealio. Yep. It's a very good question because a lot of Christians are so convinced that this is a Christian nation and are such Christian nationalists, they can't even imagine what a Christianity or a nation of the United States would look like that's not Christian nationalist. I felt like I was ready for that question or something. Just really went off on that
one. Have we covered all of our topics, Doug?
I don't know.
Ugh.
I like this comment from Karen. It's horrible. I want out now. I hope Karen doesn't mean listening to this podcast. Like I can't. Yeah. It's playing in the background on my computer or my phone, and I can't figure out how to stop the audio. That's happened to me a number of times where something starts playing and I'm like, I don't even know what this is, what app this sound is coming from. And I'm scrolling through trying to find them. If that's how you feel. Okay. Thank you. I stopped going to church. I stopped going to church building because I looked around and didn't see anyone like me.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you. It's funny, isn't it? That was Alyssa's comment. We all want to go to churches, and you can substitute that for lots of communities to be involved in, that look enough like us that we feel comfortable and are different enough from us to be interesting and diverse. Yep. It's really hard to find that match. I've been in churches so different from me, I can't even connect. And I've been in churches so similar to me, it kind of makes me smell my own bad breath. Yeah. So it's a trick. It's a trick. All right. You got anything else, Rob? Anything else in the chat?
I got nothing else. I have a busy day and taxes to do. That's what I have. I have a meeting here in a couple of minutes with a potential candidate for office.
I love it.
Just trying to figure out what office this person might run for.
Karen, we know you were kidding, or not referring to us. We knew you were referring to that. It's just the level of self-deprecating humor. I say that because Karen says in the chat, "Oh no, I did not mean you guys. I meant I want out of the U.S. It will get worse." It's just our self-deprecating humor. This is how you get to be the 29th most popular progressive Christian podcast. Hey, friends, if you were to share the podcast version of this, this also comes as an audio-only podcast. If you can imagine not looking at these faces while you hear these voices, you could do that. That should cause a few of you to just, choose the audio-only version. If you were to share the podcast, each of you, with a friend, just one, with a friend, I'm sure that change would drop us into the top 23.
Oh, that'd be exciting.
And nobody ever says top 25 if you're not somewhere between 20 and 25, right? If you were to say we're in the top 25 podcasts of this category.
That means you're 24th.
If you were 7th, you wouldn't say top 25. It's kind of like
we're in the top 30. We're in the top 30 progressive Christian podcast.
Yeah, because we say we're in the top 29. That tells you where we are. We're 29. So let's push that number down. Let's drive that number down to the top 23. Let's see if we can do it. Everyone go into your podcast place of choice. Share this on Facebook. Share it with a friend. Just ask them to subscribe and listen to one episode, and let's see what happens next month, and see if we drive ourselves down. Hey, what did it say was the number one? Who's got the number one progressive Christian podcast in America, in the world, in the cosmos?
Boy, you ask me these questions.
I'm
not prepared.
Sorry. Yeah, I was not prepared.
Hold on, I found the link.
I just thought you would be this person who would have been like
straight white American Jesus, number one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Good. Yeah. We've done things with them. Great. That's awesome. How about what's 7th? No. Sorry. What's 23rd? Who are we going after? Who are we hunting? Right. Who do we have in our sights?
We're coming for you, Clackamas United Church of Christ. We're coming for you.
Clackamas United Church of Christ. Let's everyone go onto the Clackamas. I mean, honestly, God, I can't even spell that word. United Church of Christ, and send them a message. Let's invite them. Okay. Let's invite them on this podcast and go head to head.
That's right. Hey, and producer Dan got our logo fixed.
Great. Clackamas United
Church of Christ. We're coming for you.
Does it say where they are? Where's Clackamas? Yabbits, we got an assignment for you. Can you figure out where Clackamas?
Welcome to the weekly audio podcast of Reverend Adam Erickson of Clackamas United Church of Christ, a progressive, inclusive Christian community seeking to follow, and then the description goes away.
I think my wife actually sent me some Instagram thing of that Pastor Adam. Said, do you know this guy? Well, I didn't know he was going to be my enemy for the next 6 weeks until we take him over.
Right. It's in Milwaukee, Oregon.
I mean, honestly, when Oregon, as Oregonites,
we'll over there to cause a ruckus during the sermon and see if we can.
As Oregonites will tell you, the least Christian state in the country. When the podcast from that United Church of Christ in that state has outdone us, we have work to do. But I think we will say in our
let me tell you, Clackamas United Church of Christ, we love you. Here's a review of their podcast. This is an abomination. God or his teachings are not progressive or inclusive. Those are words meant to make Marxism sound nice. I would give this negative stars if I could. Hey, Clackamas United Methodist or United Church of Christ podcast. We love you, folks.
Keep up the good work. Keep up the good work.
And we're coming for you.
And our new tagline from Karen is, "It's horrible. I want out now." That's what we need people to say about it. The Common Good podcast. It's horrible, and I want out now. We'll do that like that hipster reverse endorsement thing to make people think that it's so bad it's cool. Hey, thanks, y'all. We know you appreciate this podcast. We appreciate it. That's why we do it every day. We feel like we're part of it with you. So Yabbits and Jim, Karen, of course, Melissa,
Peggy, Kimberly, loving life always, Bill,
Jody. Yeah. You know what's funny is the difference between the YouTube names often and the Facebook names often just have the person's name or the name they use on Facebook, which seems like a first name and a last name often. But over on YouTube, which is our preferred place for you to watch this because we're trying to work the algorithm over there, people can often have a handle. You know, they can be
like
Love and
Virginia
Life.
Photos. Virginia Photos. Thanks for the comment.
I love it. I love it so much.
Eric, Danielle.
Yep. Marie.
Mm-hmm.
We must be scrolling at similar paces. Yeah. A whole bunch of people.
Leah.
Dave.
Linda.
Dave Dermott, good to see you again. I know Dave was on earlier. I was going to put his comment up.
Jack
Morris.
Jr.
Morris Lee. Yeah. So lots of people. We know we go on and on around here. We've been on for an hour and 15 minutes. So there's a bunch of these. We also put out some other podcasts. And if you follow our socials, we chop up some of this and we turn it into little reels and stuff to try to share the bit. And but I do think we need to put Clackamas United Church of Christ in our in our marketing and say we're coming for you.
We're putting you on blast, Clackamas United Church of Christ. We're coming for you.
What is that? What does that put you on blast? What does it mean?
It's like a warning.
Put you on blast?
Yeah, it's like it's a phrase my kids probably said when they were teenagers, and they would probably roll their eyes and shake their head at me for saying it now.
Let's figure that out. If that's true, then that we're all the more. We're all the more. Or if anybody else.
We are old white men trying to sound young and failing miserably.
It's totally dope. All right. You done?
Yeah. Clackamas United Church of Christ is Ohio.
Here we come. All right. Thanks, y'all. Thanks for being a part of this, and hang in there, and let's all do what we can. And remember, vote common good.